The furnace that remembered their screams, 1716. In the heart of Lima, 1716, a furnace stood in the Esperanza factory. But this was no ordinary furnace. It was said to capture the screams of the tortured, burning them into the very bricks. Workers whispered that at night the walls moaned with agony. Those who tried to escape were swallowed by flames that seemed alive. No one survived, yet the echoes of their pain lingered, haunting anyone who dared approach. This was history's cruelest witness, a furnace that never forgot. The woman buried alive, 1800s. In the Victorian countryside, a young woman was declared dead after a sudden illness. Her family buried her in the cold earth, unaware of the life still in her body. Hours later, muffled cries reached the surface. She clawed desperately at the coffin, soil falling around her, until the world outside remained silent once more. Her terror became a legend, a warning whispered through generations that sometimes death comes too soon, but the living can still suffer. The Saint of the Old South. In the Deep South, a woman known as the Saint of the Old South walked among her people. But her saintly facade hid a dark secret. Enslaved spirits, silenced by chains, claimed her presence after death. At night, a ghostly figure drifted across the plantation fields, carrying the cries of those she could not save. Or perhaps, those she doomed. The legacy of her piety was tainted. Her story told only in whispers, warning those who dared seek holiness in a place of horror. The woman who hunted humans, Patty Cannon, a name that would haunt the American frontier forever. In 1829, she lured travelers and enslaved individuals alike, trapping them in her cabin. Her lantern illuminated fear, not hope. The shadows of chained victims danced on the walls, silent witnesses to her cruelty. Even the bravest shivered at her calm, calculating gaze. Some say her soul never rested, and those who wander near the old cabin still feel her presence, hunting them in the night. The Baron's Christmas. In an 18th-century European castle, a baron presented a gift meant for celebration. But it was his own captive, a woman in chains, and unbeknownst to him, her bloodline entwined with his own. The walls of the castle held secrets of horror, whispered by servants who saw the cruel truth. The festive halls became a chamber of screams, and the night carried the story of a twisted aristocracy where even family could not escape cruelty. The dungeon bride dreams of her wedding day, but she dreamed of escape. Locked in a medieval dungeon, a bride awaited her grim fate. Chained to the wall, the skeletal remains of others around her told a story of despair. Water dripped from the stones, echoing like distant cries. Candlelight flickered, revealing her terror-stricken face. She screamed silently, hoping someone would hear, but the dungeon was unforgiving. Generations later, locals claim the ghostly bride still walks the castle halls, searching for the freedom she was denied. The twin science. In Kentucky, 1834, two twins baffled doctors and townsfolk alike. One fell ill, the other healthy, yet when death claimed one, strange occurrences began. Mirrors reflected the living twin, but sometimes another pair of eyes stared back. Doctors whispered of unnatural connections, while locals feared visiting the twins' home. Some say science could not explain it, but the terror they inspired was very real, a twin bond that reached beyond death itself. The furnace. In the colonial era, a secret chamber burned with more than fire. Prisoners chained near a furnace perished slowly, their screams swallowed by flames. Guards turned their heads, fearful of the evil that lingered even when the fire died. Smoke carried whispers of terror, and the furnace became a symbol of cruelty. Centuries later, the ruins still hold a heat that feels alive, as if the suffering trapped within refuses to fade. The girl. Victorian townspeople spoke of a girl who never seemed to age. Her eyes held centuries of sorrow, and mirrors reflected a face that was both childlike and ancient. Candlelight revealed scars of forgotten tragedies, as if time itself had twisted her fate. Visitors left unsettled, claiming she whispered of horrors long past. Some believed she had cheated death, Others feared she carried the souls of the departed in her gaze, an eternal witness to humanity's darkest sins. The church. In a remote village, a church stood abandoned for decades, but locals swore that at midnight, the walls screamed. Ghostly figures emerged from the altar, trapped in a loop of suffering. Broken crosses and shattered stained glass reflected the moonlight, casting long, eerie shadows. Those who dared enter felt invisible hands clutching their shoulders, whispering the sins of centuries past. Even today, the legend endures of a church alive with the screams of history's forgotten souls.